And now I'd like to invite Michael Mulryan to come forward. He is a West Boylston resident and is responsible for the Memorial Day exercises in this community.
Thank you very much, Reverend Sidoni. It's a honor and a privilege to speak at the Congregational Church in West Boylston because it's been such a fixture in my life for so many years. I walked in today and was greeted by Dave Gustafson, a teacher at West Boylston High who had such a great impact on all my children who went through the high school there. He's an inspiration and a wonderful instructor and teacher. So my family moved to West Boylston in 1958. So to a lot of folks, we're still newcomers. Because West Boylston has a long tradition. You can go over to the East Common, and there's a plaque there with over 30 names of folks from this area, this town, who went to Lexington and Concord during the American Revolution in 1775. So there's a lot of history in this community. And when we moved here, we recognized, I did anyway, that it was such a beautiful town and it had tremendous civic spirit. I did not know at that young age as a boy what really civic spirit was, but I did know it was a good thing, and West Boylston had it. So I could just consult my notes here briefly so I don't forget anything. American Legion Post 204 has organized the Memorial Day program for decades in this community. So many years back, I can't even recall when it started. West Boylston has had a tradition with a lot of support for Post 204 to put on the program, a tremendous amount of support from fire, police, civic organizations within the community, the Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, other organizations. And that is what has made the program a success to date, and it is a solemn and respectful observance. This is not 4th of July with fire trucks throwing candy out. This is Memorial Day. It's a special day. As my predecessor, Jack McCormick, who had the nickname Mr. Memorial Day in West Boylston because he organized the program for so many years, as the Graves Registration Officer for Post 204, which is my responsibility now. Some folks would say, how did you get stuck with that job? And I say, well, to me, as a Marine veteran of the Vietnam War, I don't consider it to be a job. I consider it to be an honor. So as Jack always said, he said, Michael, don't forget about this. It's always about respect for the veterans. And that's what Memorial Day is about. On March 3rd, in 1868, General John Logan issued a general order. It was number 11, if you're keeping track. And he proclaimed that after the Civil War dead, that all the graves of the Civil War veterans who died be decorated with flowers and prayers and remembrances. And that was somewhat the start of a Memorial Day, which in past time was called Decoration Day. So now we have Memorial Day based upon the beginning of what General Logan said. And I think what General Logan was saying is that if we do not recognize, if we do not appreciate, if we do not cherish the things in our lives that make a difference, we will scarcely remember when they are gone. So Memorial Day is about recognition of service, sacrifice, and coming home. Many veterans have come home to West Boylston, have started families, started careers, started new adventures in their lives. Still many veterans have come home to Mount Vernon Cemetery, High Plains Cemetery, and St. Luke's Cemetery. We have a civic responsibility to recognize true sacrifice. The town of West Boylston's program begins at 8:15 at St. Luke's Cemetery off of Lancaster Street, across the Phil to the old-timers who recognize that term. At 9:15 at High Plains Cemetery in Oakdale. And at 10 a.m., we meet at the front lawn of the Beaman Library. The fire department auxiliary provides donuts and coffee, so come and get your free donut. And we step off with a parade at 10:30 to Mount Vernon Cemetery. From there, we go to stop briefly at the Fallen Soldiers Monument, which is the new one on the end of the East Common. And then we end up in front of First Congregational Church of West Boylston at the flagpole for our final closure of our cemetery, of our service. And just briefly, a few notes. This is a poppy, and everyone is familiar with the poppy and Memorial Day. But there's some little confusion or some maybe lack of knowledge about roughly how it started. This is a gardening section of this talk. In the soil in West Boylston, there's a thing called the soil seed reservoir, where seeds from past bygone years accumulate in the soil but lay dormant because they've not been disturbed or they haven't been exposed to sunlight and water. The soils in West Boylston are the same as the soils in Flanders in Belgium, in that soil seed reservoir stays intact until it's disturbed. In West Boylston, we disturb the soil by a farmer's plow or a gardener's pitchfork. That brings seed to the fore where sunlight and moisture can germinate the seeds. In Flanders, in Belgium, what disturbed the soil was artillery shells blasting on the ground. And that allowed, along with nitrogen from the artillery shells, to expose poppy seeds to germinate from sunlight and moisture. So that's how Flanders Fields somewhat became known for its poppies. There was a Canadian field officer named John McCrae who lost a dear friend at the Second Battle of Ypres. And for those in the can speak French, I hope I got that somewhat right. It's Ypres. So his dear friend was killed, and McCrae provided the final resting service for his dear friend. And from the back of an ambulance after it was over, he was so taken that he wrote, "In Flanders Fields." And I'd like to honor that and pass that on now. In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields, the poppies grow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks still bravely sing, fly, scarcely heard among the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you we pass the torch, for you, for yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though we lie in Flanders Fields. Thank you.